I was 7 years old when my family started serving the after-school tutoring program at Christian Friends of New Americans. CFNA is an outreach ministry to immigrants and refugees in the St. Louis area, whose mission is to develop relationships with new Americans with whom we can share the gospel through caring words and actions. The after-school tutoring program serves refugees from all over the world. Growing up working with friends from Southeast Asia, Africa, and the Middle East has blessed me far beyond making geography map lessons more relevant. Over the years, I have learned much about connecting with people from other cultures and developing relationships, creating ways to communicate beyond words. Two great things happened in my life in the fall of 2020. We found the Arch Speech and Debate Club and were introduced to the world of STOA. And I met Sept, a Congolese refugee who arrived in St. Louis with very limited English just before the world shut down. Even though his 15 years have been vastly different from mine, I knew when I first met him that we would be friends. It wasn't a long conversation that convinced me. In fact, basically all he said was, "Want to do math." Because his English was so limited and his school was virtual, you can imagine that school was frustrating for Sept. He's a gifted thinker and very capable academically, but our only common language was numbers. So instead of working on basic vocabulary and reading skills, we did math. Lots of it. Sept's eyes would sparkle when he successfully got to the end of a problem, and we would immediately start another. His confidence grew, as did his language skills. At my first STOA tournament, I felt a lot like Sept must have felt that first year in the US. Overwhelmed, insecure, and looking for a way to find my footing, I spent more time at the chessboard, looking for someone to speak my language than I did reaching out to experienced debaters, talking strategy, or trading briefs. Because I was such a novice with a very, very limited understanding of what I was supposed to be debating, the debaters I hit had to significantly adjust how they communicated their cases in order for us to have a dialogue that the judges could follow. This is an important communication skill that successful STOA competition requires. To present my case effectively, I have to understand my opponent and my judges. If my judges are experienced alums and I'm debating a top team, I present differently than if I'm debating novices and have a first-time judge. Adjusting how I communicate to match my audience is a STOA skill I use every week at after-school tutoring. When Sept first came, our communication was limited to numbers and after-tutoring stress relief, in the form of basement soccer. As his English improved, we moved from arithmetic to logic, introducing chess and matrix puzzles. Now I use our tutoring time to explain algebra, using examples and explanations that he understands. It's still math, but the concepts and vocabulary are more advanced. Because of my experience with debate, I am more effective tutoring bright kids with limited language skills. I assess, like asking for a judging philosophy. I ask clarifying questions, a little like cross-ex, and I watch his body language, making sure he really understands and isn't just nodding to make me happy. Effective communication is so much more than using pretty words and eliminating fillers. It means being understood. And the hours I spend every week at CFNA give me lots of time to practice that. Another surprising way that STOA helps me serve more effectively became apparent this season, as I have focused on making more connections and developing networks. Surprisingly, I've seen that translate into more effective conversations and interactions with the refugees I serve. I've gotten better at realizing what they need and trying to find a way to provide it. Because I am focusing on relationships, my time at CFNA has become so much more than simply serving because that's what Janssens do. I look forward to the time, and so do my refugee friends. The impact of my service goes far beyond friendships, but that's a pretty great start. Beyond that, years from now, Sept and I might still be doing math, building bridges between cultures. But in 10 years, perhaps because of some extra tutoring in math, those bridges could be made of concrete, engineered and designed by a former refugee, my friend Sept.